These are the guided notes for Chapter 6, Section 6.1 on ratios. Please follow along on the handout as we work through this section. So ratios are used to compare all kinds of different things. You can compare time, you can compare money or cost or price. You can compare weight, volume, all kinds of different things that you can compare with ratios. And they can be written 3 different ways. Sometimes you'll see them written as kind of a statement, 7 to 4. There's also a symbol, which is just the colon symbol, 7 to 4, or we can write them as a fraction, 7 to 4. So for math, we like to write it as a fraction, but usually you'll see it written kind of as a little statement or with the colon symbol. Alright, so for this example, if Shane went grocery shopping, he spent $14 on meat, $5 on milk, and $7 on fruit. So we want to write a ratio of the amount he spent on fruit to the amount he spent on milk. So fruit was 7, so we'd write the 7 first. $7 to milk was $5. So he's comparing his cost. We could also write that 7 to 5 with the colon, or 7 over 5 as a fraction. Same idea on part B, write a ratio of the amount he spent on milk to the amount he spent on meat. So milk was $5 to meat was $14. Or we could write 5 colon 14, or we could write 5 over 14. The units, the money symbols, because they're the same, we don't have to write them. They're both in money, so we don't have to worry about the actual unit symbol. If they're different, we do, which we'll get into later. But if the units are the same, dollars to dollars, then we don't need to write the units, we can drop them. You can even drop them off of these statements. So that's just an example of writing a ratio given different pieces. So a little bit more specific about ratios. They're always written in lowest terms. You always want to reduce whatever you're given. It has to be written in lowest terms. And they're usually written as fractions. Like I said, we like to write them as a fraction, but not as mixed numbers. You don't want to have mixed numbers in here. It'll get way too messy. So you always write them in lowest terms as fractions, not mixed numbers. So let's see, ratios always need 2 parts. So if I have 60 compared to 20 as a ratio, that would be 60 over 20, which reduces to 6 over 2, which we're going to write as 3 over 1, not just 3. So we reduce it just like we did fractions in Chapter 4. Usually we would drop the denominator if it was 1 and just write 3. But for a ratio, we need both parts because we need to be able to compare 3 to 1. If we just have 3, that doesn't make sense as a ratio. So again, for a ratio, we leave both parts. So let's kind of practice doing that. 50 to 120. 50 to 120. That reduces to 5 over 12, and we're just going to leave it that way. We don't want to convert it to a decimal or anything like that. We need it as a fraction. Same idea here, 9 hours to 12 hours. Again, because the units match, we don't have to write them here. That can reduce to 3/4 as your ratio. Go ahead and pause the video here and try example 3. So you should have gotten 100/50, which can reduce to 10/5, which is really 2. But remember, it needs to stay over 1. 2 to 1 is our ratio. If we just put 2, it doesn't make sense as a ratio. Try example 4. So 15 people to 6 people. We can reduce that to 5/2. We don't want to change that to a mixed number. We don't want to change it to a decimal. We're just going to leave it 5 to 2. That is our ratio. And ratio of length to width. Let me draw that rectangle out for you. So if I told you that the width was 24 inches and that the length was 36 inches, write the ratio of length to width. Go ahead again and pause the video and try this one. Alright, so length to width. We want to put the length first and then the width. Be careful not to switch those. And then we can reduce from there. We should get 3 to 2. Again, don't change that to 1.5. Don't change that to a decimal. 3 to 2 is our ratio. All right. So ratios must have, we kind of already mentioned this, they have to have matching units. And so if we look up here, hours to hours, meters to meters, people to people, inches to inches, they have to match. If they don't match, we have to convert some of these units. So if conversion is necessary, always convert to the smaller unit. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. But trying to convert to the bigger unit is much harder. Always convert down to the smaller unit so that they'll match. Alright, so I'll do the first one with you. If you have 2 feet to 30 inches, those units don't match. 2 feet to 30 inches, those don't match. So think about which one's smaller, feet or inches. We should agree that inches are smaller. So we're going to convert the feet to inches. So you'll have to know that 1 foot has 12 inches in it. And if you're not sure of those conversions, you can Google them and look them up, and I'll give them to you if you need them. So we know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So 2 feet, we're going to have to multiply 12 by 2, is 24 inches. So now we've got 24 inches to 30 inches. Now the units match. Now they can actually be compared. So we have 24 to 30. We want to reduce that to 4/5, or a ratio of 4 to 5. So you have to make sure those units match before we write the ratio. Go ahead and pause the video and try example 2. Again, it's inches and feet. So pause and try example 2. So 9 inches to 6 feet. Again, we want the feet. We want to get to the smaller unit. We're going to leave those inches. We need to change feet to inches. So we need to multiply 6 times 12. That's 72 inches. Now we can compare 9 inches to 72 inches. They must match. So that's 9 over 72, which reduces to 1 over 8, or a ratio of 1 to 8. Same idea on these last two. 2 days to 8 hours. So you need to know that 1 day is 24 hours. You need to figure out which one's smaller, days or hours. We would agree that hours are smaller. So we need to convert the days to hours. 2 days would be 48 hours. Comparing that to 8 hours. So that is 48 over 8, which reduces to 6 over 1. Again, leave that 1 so we have our both parts. 6 to 1. Alright, last example. Go ahead and pause the video here and try this one. We have minutes and hours. So we need to convert the hours to minutes. We know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. So 2 hours is 120 minutes. So now we're comparing 25 minutes to 120 minutes. That's 25 out of 120, which reduces to 5 out of 24. So a ratio of 5 to 24 is our ratio in lowest terms. That's it for section 6.1. Please practice the homework and review these notes.